everyone! We finally did a movie Monday! And to continue with our theme for this month, it's Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island! Of which I've actually seen this before many, many years ago. What about you two?
Nope. I knew like the one sentence premise of like the monsters are actually real, basically. But I didn't know any of the specifics. I didn't know the whole like cat thing. Just strange. But yeah.
You knew they were zombies, but not cat zombies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can reveal now that apparently I have watched this before, but I only started to realize I watched it before in the kitchen scene.
Oh really?
And
Okay.
yeah, and I'm not 100% sure if I watched like the whole thing in one sitting because I remember parts of it, but like, because like, okay, the main things I remembered were the kitchen scene with Velma and the spatula, the ending, and then I knew the fact that the gardener was not a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Those were the things I remember.
To be fair, it's a pretty common Scooby-Doo trope to have like, you know, introduce someone who's like a mean grump and then be like, oh, it's obviously that guy, and then it's actually not, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty common trope. So I didn't think he was, you know.
I had remembered who the bad guys were and the fact that cats were involved. So I was like, okay, I found some of the things interesting and stuff. Like you see, like every time it'd be like, oh yeah, we're spooked by the pirates, and then later she'd be like, oh yeah, we're also spooked by the Confederate soldiers. And then when you see some of the zombies, they have like tourist outfits and everything, and then it's like, huh.
Yeah, I noticed
That's a bit uncanny.
Yeah. They were what? They're spooked by tourists?
Yeah, I am curious, like, you know, how many people, especially like as like kids and like, you know, who saw this, that knew that like, or didn't know that like the whole point of this is that, you know, they're real, right? Because I'm imagining like a kid who, you know, may watch some of the original Scooby-Doo, maybe some of the more modern 90s Scooby-Doo or whatever, and then he's like, on the island, oh, okay, and sees this movie, and then it's like, because I can see like a kid watching this, especially if they don't know, and it being like legitimately scary.
Yeah,
So-
no, I was one of those kids. Well, I don't remember if I was scared necessarily, but I do remember that I actually fell for because I didn't know. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, cool, they're gonna pull off the mask, and then the head came off. Yeah, and then I was like, wait a minute, they're real? And I had just that moment of realization where I was like, wait a minute, all the zombies are real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely the whole thing like with the scene with the head, because even if you know that it's real, it's still like just kind of has actually legitimately good tension where like, because you know it's real, right?
But they don't.
Yeah. What is that? There's a term
Yeah.
for that when like you know more than the characters.
Dramatic irony.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that works quite well.
I forgot how like messed up some of the imagery was too, because like the cat monsters are pretty scary.
Yeah, the cat monsters, also the monsters in general. Like you usually used to like the Scooby-Doo villains kind of looking like unique and kind of creepy, but they're also kind of comical in like some degree and stuff like that. But no, these guys, the zombies, and then the cat monsters, even like the goblin thing in the beginning of the film was also kind of scary.
Yeah, it was like messed up.
Yeah, this is definitely something that like, again, as a kid, I feel like some of it, like, because again, when they start running away, there is kind of like a montage where there's like, you know, like a song or whatever, and I feel that kind of like is like a break, you know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
it's that sort of a sillier part. But like before that, I think it's like legitimately like pretty well done. Again, from like a standpoint of like this is ultimately a product for kids. I think it's actually done pretty well in terms of like tension building and, you know, being like kind of actually a bit scary. So, you know, and again, I'm not saying that like, oh, the song ruined it or whatever. And I'm sure that like probably they were thinking like, you know, we want to have like it is for kids. You know, you want to have some sort of a break and emotional break or whatever. So
Yeah, you don't want it to be too spooky.
yeah, at least like the entire time or whatever. But yeah, I do like how like to me this is very clearly was made by people who, you know, like really like Scooby-Doo and wanted to, you know, come at this from people who really like the original show, and then they were like, okay, but what if they're real? And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Let's do it, right? And I think that's good because it's something where like, you know, and there's how many Scooby-Doo movies are there? Like 30 or something? I don't know. There's a ton of them.
There are
right?
many.
Several.
Yeah, and you know, it's sort of like you kind of have to like justify your existence in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, why would we watch this one over another one, right? And so this is definitely a way, especially early on. You know, again, because it was made, and I think we looked it up. It was 97 or 98, and it's like, oh, this is okay. This is clearly different, and it makes sense also why this is like a movie that's separate from like a main show, right?
Yeah.
So it fully
It
justifies
wouldn't really work
yeah.
as the main show.
Yeah, so it justifies its existence for what it is, and also in a way for separating itself out, which is good, because I feel like a lot of some of the other movies, I've seen some like synopsis of them, and it's just like, this just sort of feels like kind of an episode of the show, but like longer, right?
Yeah.
So this does not feel like that, which is good.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it again. It was interesting watching it without the commercials too, because I don't know if you would get this, but when I was like, oh, there's where the commercial would have been. There's also where the commercial would have been.
Oh yeah, that's
like
true.
I remembered where the commercials would have gone and everything too. So it was interesting actually seeing it all in one go.
Yeah, it is interesting, like, because sometimes I actually honestly didn't really notice for that, because sometimes I've watched like especially like episodes of a show from like the 90s or 2000s where they very clearly like have like a fade out for a commercial or whatever, because then it's like it's a fade out usually at like some sort of tense moment or something, and then it's a fade in to like the exact same scene, and it's like, well, okay. So but yeah, I didn't actually notice for this one, but I don't know.
I think for me, I only noticed it because I had watched it previously on TV, so I was like, oh, that's where there would have been, like, I have that memory of the commercials being there, so I think that was my only thing. But that said, the animation for this movie is also really good, actually.
Yeah, it still feels like it feels like the same style, overall visual style of like the original show, but it does have definitely, it's, you know, it wasn't made in the 60s.
It also has like a creepy vibe because they actually took advantage of the lighting. Like one of the things that also kind of like spooked me a little bit was that scene where Lena is showing Fred his room, and her back is against the window, and her like eyes are the only thing you see. I was like, that's fucked up. Okay.
You're like, huh, this person doesn't seem all there. Like, Did you guys suspect that it was the two ladies and the fairy guy?
The ladies,
I always forgot.
Yes, the fairy guy, no.
Yeah, I always forgot that the fairy guy was involved until like I saw the other two running towards the fairy, and I was like, oh wait, there was a male cat, wasn't there? Hey, at least they didn't reproduce.
I mean, if you live forever, you kind of don't need to, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they did kind of reproduce. They got the fairy guy into it.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, that was enjoyable. It was pretty good.
Yes, we've kind of spoiled a lot of things already, but if you're interested in watching it, definitely watch it. I mean, it's a really cool, it's an interesting take for Scooby-Doo and stuff. And I think it's the first time, like, with the entire gang together and stuff, that they deal with real monsters. Because I think prior to this point, Scooby and Shaggy had, like, their own spin-off series where they sometimes dealt with real monsters, but this was the first time that it was, like, one in, like, a real world setting, and two with the entire gang there too. So yeah.
Okay. Well, should we give a rating? Film?
Oh yeah, rating.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Wrong folder. I don't know. I'm down to give a rating if you want to.
Sure. I mean, it is a movie.
Yeah.
Rating, what I give it?
That I don't know.
I know what I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a high 7.
I think I would also give it a 7. I mean, there's nothing I would say against it.
Yeah, I think 7 sounds good to me too. I was like looking at the other ratings and I was like, I mean, I definitely like it more than Atlantis.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, fuck Atlantis. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun, chill movie. I mean, I can see why it's the most famous of the Scooby-Doo movies. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's the one that it's the one that I knew by name without even seeing anything of it. So, yeah.
I was part of that generation that did not know the twist, and I can say, as someone who even knew the twist, watching it like a second time, it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Even watching it a second time, like years later and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, you're watching a Scooby-Doo movie, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's not going to be high art or whatever, but it doesn't need to be high art, so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a fun time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fun times, we have one more Scooby-Doo related thing coming up again in 2 weeks. Since the 2 weeks from now, the Sunday is actually Halloween, October 31st.
Woohoo!
And
perfect.
Yeah, perfect timing because we will be doing another show, and for Scooby-Doo, there's plenty of options. That said, it's actually my turn, and if anyone watched that 2-hour video I put out at the end of 2020 about all the animated shows I watched, there was a Scooby-Doo show on that list, and I watched Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. And I overall like the show a really solid amount. And neither of you two have seen anything from the show.
No, actually.
And, yeah, the show, so I believe it was, I want to say 2011 to 2013 or something, so it's early 2010s.
Oh, wow.
And so it's definitely it's you're to see sort of similarities, but also differences compared to the, of course, original shows and whatever other shows you watched and since then. We're gonna watch the first 6 episodes. I did double check the plot, and the 6th episode does sort of, I think it's a good place to end on, for us. And if, of course, you can continue to choose to watch this on your own. Again, I think it's interesting from my perspective. Again, this is the only Scooby-Doo show that I've watched all the way through, and again, I watched it last year, so definitely sort of a different experience compared to you guys. But I think you will find this really interesting. So,
hey, I mean, I'm curious to know, how it is and everything like that. I've heard good things about it, so I'm excited, especially since I've watched all the other Scooby-Doos.
I will say this. I don't know if this fully comes into you'll realize this from the first 6 episodes, but I say this completely unironically when I say that Fred is the best character.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is a miracle because Fred is really boring most of the time.
I think he starts in What's New Scooby-Doo, they kind of play with it more, where he's kind of like the dumb jock kind of, but he also comes up with the plans and everything.
Yeah. You'll see. Well, maybe you will. I don't know. We'll see how far we get in terms of just 6 episodes. I'll talk about this more when we actually get to it, but yeah, that's my piece on that. Though I like everybody, but actually, I think well, you'll find out.
Yay!
So we will see you back on Halloween for
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated.
Woohoo!
Bye-bye!
Goodbye!
Goodbye.